greetings. You are tuned into the Community InRoads Watch for the Helper series. When things get rough and scary, as they have with the current pandemic, you should always watch carefully for the helpers. There will always be helpers, as there have been in particular during the pandemic. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to three of them, true leaders in the community: Nelly Alba, Stephanie McArdle, and Will Villasnovas. So what I want to do right now, everybody, is I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself one by one, and just say a few words about your organization as it pertains to Jobs for Youth. Just a few sentences, and then I'll move on to the next person, and then we'll get into things a little bit deeper. So Steph, why don't you begin?
Oh, great. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here. And Joan's also one of those important helpers and connectors too in the community. So thank you. I run Beyond Soccer in Lawrence, and it is a sports-based youth development organization that uses the power of soccer, and actually most recently volleyball, to connect kids to experiences that help them on and off the field. Our focus areas are academics, health, and leadership. And the leadership connects in with the youth jobs. What's great about soccer is that you can have kids when they're young and they'll stay with you for many, many years. And we use that opportunity to connect kids to our camps as junior coaches, and then eventually coach mentors. And then they can even become part of our youth jobs cohort over the summer when we're very busy. Obviously, this summer looks a little bit different, but we'll get into that probably in a little bit. So thanks for having me.
Yes, we will. And right before the show, we were all talking about how everybody is so very interconnected. And in particular, I was just talking to Nelly Alba from YDO, and how we knew one another when she was a member of YDO, one of the quote YDO kids, and now is a mover and shaker for this very powerful nonprofit. Nelly, you want to introduce yourself and just talk very high level about what YDO does, and focus in on the Jobs for Youth.
Of course. So hi, everyone. Thank you again for having me here today. So my name is Nelly Alba, and I am the Director of Recruiting and Persistence for YDO. As you mentioned, I was also a YDO kid back when it was founded in the early years, so back in 2007. And it's been amazing to be a part of this organization and continue to grow with it. We have a couple different buckets of activities and programming that we do after school for students. In connection with Youth Job, with our after school programming directed towards 3rd and 8th graders, we hire and recruit our high school crew and some of our college students to come back and teach for us. In particular, thinking about summer as well, we typically, and as Stephanie mentioned, we'll talk more about that when we talk about the impacts of COVID, but we typically get about 50 high school students or first-year college students to come back and work with our young ones as well, who lead, direct, and we're there to support them in that process. And then we have our post-secondary pathways program, working with our high school students, getting ready for what happens post high school, and some of that is in connection to internships and opportunities and what jobs are out there for them to pursue and for them to continue.
And I'm just thinking YDO and Beyond Soccer both started right around the same time that Community InRoads did, so we've all kind of grown up together. Well, not really, Nelly, but.
Well, Nelly was one of the first young people I get to know in the city, and probably one of the reasons why I'm still involved in the city, because of the young people. Now she's not as young, but thanks, Nelly.
Pretty damn young.
Yeah.
So we have a new organization that has been just focusing in on Lowell, and we're so very happy to welcome UTech. And Will Villasnovas, do you want to talk a little bit very high level about your organization and focusing on Jobs for Youth?
Sure. Again, I'm Will Villasnovas. Thank you for having me here today. I'm the Director of Workforce Development at UTech. We actually have been at UTech in Lawrence for a little bit. We really want to focus and intensify our work in Lawrence and Haverhill. But we serve proven risky young adults from Lawrence, Lowell, and Haverhill with the mission and promise to ignite and nurture the ambition to trade violence and poverty for economic and social success. And they go through this to our intensive program model. where first we meet the young adults where they're at. We have a team of street workers that meet young adults on the streets. And also we do a lot of in-reach in the local jails. So we work with the young adults 6 months prior to release to make sure like when the day they release, we're there for them, but also we're connect them to our workforce development program that will prepare them to, when they complete their program, to not only find external employment, but be able to sustain that job, right? And through that, we have a pathways program where we provide 2 years of follow-up after completing the program. So young adults are getting the day-to-day support from us. So I joined in a UTAC for young adults who last many, many years. And, we serve young adults that comes from all different levels of, skills, trauma, self-commitment to the work, and really very intensive on the work to get them ready to learn what they're passionate about it, but also to help them to address the barriers that in place for them to succeed in our society.
So, well, maybe we stay with you for a moment, and if you can talk a little bit about the COVID pandemic that has marched into our lives, and running a nonprofit is not an easy thing anyhow, and there are tremendous, tremendous challenges. So in comes the pandemic, and whammo, with many of us, it felt like we can't do our work. And so maybe you can talk about how the pandemic impacted you, and then focus in on the mattress program and the Jobs for Youth.
Okay.
What you've done to pivot is the key word in the nonprofit community now.
It has, great impact us. We really focus on the culture, and we're very intentional about creating a culture where young adults feel that's, UTAC is their home, feel the space is welcoming, it's a safe space for them to be. We work with young adults. They're from different rival gangs, and a lot of time they're in the same classroom together, in the same culinary class together, or at the mattress recycling, cutting mattress together. So we spend a lot of time to focus on creating a culture where they feel safe, welcoming, positive. It is hard now doing this remotely. A lot of the job training is hands-on. So what we have done for the past 3 months now, the first thing, we do pay a stipend for young adults, a weekly stipend. So we decided that we can continue paying them no matter what. The pandemic itself, it's already a higher level of stress to our young adults. So taking away their income, it's just going to add more and more. So we decided, and we have been paying our young adults a weekly stipend. We required them to do some work remotely. So we have long Chromebooks for young adults to do work from home. We continue to outreach. We have transition coaches and street workers. They do a Safe the Way home visit. We connect with them through social medias. We also deliver food and personal needs 3 times a week. So today, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we have 5 vans out on the streets delivering food and personal needs for 50 plus young adults and families from our community. So it has really packed a mattress recycling, because a mattress recycling is really hands-on. Young adults spend most time there cutting mattress, and now because we cannot have young adults back in space yet, so now we're working on the reopening process that we hoping that within the next couple of weeks, we could have a small group of young adults coming in, doing some cutting mattress, and then spend other times and doing some workshops. So we also have a very, exciting news that we are getting a new place in InRoads, not too far from our warehouse, where it's gonna be like a drop-in center, where young adults, instead of spending 5 days cutting mattress, go over there, they go to the warehouse, cut mattress 3 days a week, and then spend 2 days a week working on personal development growth through workshops, classrooms and all like that.
And we're so happy you're here, Will, and we're hoping to get to know you and Greg and the staff even better and working together. I know that you've actually been working with Stephanie in more of a, well, partly recreational, and then you're running one of their programs, or one of their, what's the situation with that?
So
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Will.
No, go ahead, Steph, and you can explain, because I was thinking.
Well, I think as Will said before, we all have spaces where we spend outside of our day-to-day jobs, which end up feeling like they're 24/7 these days, which is okay. But Will spends some of that time on the soccer fields with us, and he helps us coordinate our recreational program for younger kids, mostly elementary school kids, and which we unfortunately did not have this year. But I've had the pleasure of getting to know Will, and he loves soccer and he loves kids, and it's so obvious. So
He's a warrior.
yeah. So I know when he isn't doing all of that, he's staying busy on soccer fields, helping another organization. But I think that's really so neat about Lawrence and the Merrimack Valley, is that the nonprofits are so interconnected, and it's not about this competition. It's about like finding ways to kind of work together to make sure all of our missions are furthered. So I really think that's very, very special about what we've got going on here. There's so many places for intersections.
So speaking of intersections, why don't you talk a little bit about how COVID is intersected into your life?
Yeah. I mean, like everybody, we're all like, just the pivoting word has been a big deal. Pivoting and problem solving and persevering. I'll use 3, I guess. Yeah, it's been, and that has helped too, by the way, some of that funding to make sure we can continue to pay our staff. And as I mentioned, a lot of our staff are young people who have grown up in our programs, who are college students that really rely on that income to also contribute to their families. And I think Will kind of mentioned that too. So we've just been digging in and doing whatever it takes to not have to turn any of our youth jobs or any of our staff members away. So we've had to be really creative with our programming too. We're still trying to work that out, because obviously we haven't been able to have any soccer, anything in person. And the requirements for what that looks like, even over the next couple months, are really, really, really tricky too. But we've been doing a lot of remote engagement. But you know what? Frankly, the kids are getting a little tired of it. We're hearing that from the school teachers. It's tough. But we're really trying to be creative with that. We have a program that's about sports, health, leadership, community connection. Kids need to participate each week as much as they want or can, and they get kind of points related to that participation. So we're trying to give away a lot of prizes, dropping off things at kids' homes and their mailboxes for participating, anything to make sure they're moving and playing and connecting. And all of those events and activities are being run by, our youth jobs cohort, which is kind of started a little early, but we'll continue to find ways to get them more and more engaged and continue to, pay them and give them, opportunities to help us and help the kids in our community. But it's not easy, because I think funding is also tough too, because a lot of funders have started to ask more questions. Well, hey, you're not running a summer. You usually reach 600 kids over the summer. Yeah. We're not going to reach 600 kids, but don't take that funding away. Let us find other creative ways to engage. Give us that challenge. We're up for it. So probably let Nelly's doing a lot over there with YDO too, on that front. So I'm sure she has some things to say.
How many kids do you serve a year?
We'll reach 1,000 kids, and that's some of it's in the schools. But again, not all of those kids get the on and off the field year-round, more intense support. But we still think those opportunities for 4-year-olds to be on the soccer field with Will on Saturdays are very important part of our programming. So we do a little of both.
Will, how many are in UTEC that you serve? It's a big agency, so.
Yes, through our workforce development program, we serve about 150 a year. But then we have the street worker department that does tons of outreach in jails and in the local community. So if you're going to count, it gets close to 1,000 throughout the year.
Okay, Nelly, you're on.
Yeah. So, very similarly as been mentioned here, we've been since the beginning trying to figure out creative ways to engage our youth in the city, given what has happened with COVID. It's very challenging because YDO is really driven on hands-on experience and the youth working with youth and with other youth themselves. But what we did this past semester is that we went fully virtual in our spring semester term, kind of like piloting and seeing how it works to teach remotely, and how kids are going to be perceiving that, get their feedback. We did focus groups so they can share with us how it's been going. So we focused first on doing that. And it went pretty well. Again, for a number of kids, it's the adjusting to keeping a schedule that isn't as consistent for them, and having, time be a little bit different. So they mentioned a little bit of that. And in thinking about that for the summer, as I mentioned, we usually have about 50 staff members. We have about 120 to 150 students from 3rd to 8th grade participating in programs related to STEM, dance, art, theater, math. And so we're not going to be able to do that given the large number. So what we're going to do as well for this summer is that we are going to go virtual, but we're not going to be, we're going to be primarily focusing on mentorship and collaboratively working with our partner organizations to support them and what the kids are doing, and do daily check-ins with all the students as a checkpoint for that. So that way we can still get our youth involved. Some get some stipend paid still. Others are going to be volunteering their time to come and do that, but they want to have that interaction with the kids. We will pay a smaller group of students to teach classes that can be replicated from what we've seen, more hands-on, so kids can get more engaged. So we will be having another bucket of programming where we'll open it up for students that want to participate. And what I'm going to be working on is a YDO training cohort, and we're going to be spending about 5 weeks getting them paid to essentially learn skills on how to teach virtual classes if it is something that's going to happen in the fall and beyond. So we want to kind of think proactively and figure out what can we do to help prepare our young ones without changing our model of having young ones lead and be in front of our students. And so I'm going to be dedicating time to working on the curriculum and lesson planning, and working with each other to figure out what works and doesn't work online. But we are going fully remote. And we're trying to continue to engage as much of our youth as possible. Like I said, we usually get a large number of kids, and we're trying to figure out how to get them all paid the best way possible, while trying to get, because it's important and it's needed, and they want to work. Every kid that I wrote to that responded to me said, "Oh, please, yes, I want to do this. They want to get involved." And so we're continuing just to look for partnership, internships, work with kids, and so that's going to be a consistent part of what we're doing during this summertime.
That was a question I was going to ask to the three of you. So the kids are still very engaged. They still participate remotely, and you don't have to run after them. Is that for the most part?
I say they're pretty good, but still, when Nelly hit on something, and Will mentioned it too, we do wellness checks. Our coaches check in. Not everybody gets on those calls. Some are a little more introverted. Some have connection issues. Just the schedule might not line up. Nobody has it figured out quite yet. That's why I think some of those even calls that are made, and I think our organizations develop such strong mentorship relationships that you can have those calls. And I tell you, it's so neat when I hear a coach, make a call, the parents who's like, "Oh my gosh, here's, Jose's going to love that you're on the call, coach." They get so excited about that because they already have a relationship. And those connections do mean something. It looks different. We're not kicking a soccer ball around, or they're not experimenting in a lab with YDO, but those connections and that time spent making sure those connections stay strong is it's an important job. It just looks different,
Yeah. And
we are going to try to get outside though too a little bit. We're trying to figure out those small 10. There's a lot of requirements. It's a massive undertaking, but if we can find a way to do it safely and get the support from the city, we'll have one coach with 10 kids and do whatever it takes, because we are hearing that people are just craving that in person. So we're working on that behind the scenes. So Will, be ready to coach.
Yeah. We also served a lot of young parents. Also, a lot of younger parents now was added to, now they have to teach the little ones because the little ones are not going to school. So we had a lot of young adults that, has, challenging, and we are supporting them to now provide teaching for their little ones who are in the middle school, and now they're have to work from home. So that's another level of stress that we have seen for a lot of the young parents, that now they don't have a place to go back to UTEC. They stay home all day. You know,
Right.
you have to take care of the little ones and teach them, you know, some materials that are not very familiar yet. So, but we are, as I mentioned earlier, we open the program and started next week. It's going to look very different what it looked before COVID. We're going to have only half of the young adults coming for, you know, before it used to be young adults coming from 9 to 3. Now they're going to come in only in the morning from 9 to 12 or from 12 to 5. Very limited space, limit activities that can be done due to the other restrictions that we have to abide by.
Yeah. Nelly, have you found the same thing as far as youth engagement for YDO?
Yeah, I think as was mentioned here, I think there's well, in thinking about these courses and what we're providing for our kids, we have to be very flexible in thinking about our kids' home life and what's going on. And so that's been something that's been at the forefront whenever we're doing this. It's providing a space if you want it, if you need it. And as Stephanie mentioned, mentoring, talking, checking in. You know, we spent you know, I'm calling and talking with kiddos and their families on weekly, and that's been extremely important for them to hear that. And for us to understand, there's some of our kids that have younger siblings that might jump on a call because, you know, parent is doing something and they have to take care of the younger sibling as well.
Right.
And so, you know, it's different. We have to be open to it. We have to ask questions. We have to engage with our kids and be very open to it. So we definitely saw, you know, I would check in and try to get kids, hey, you're not in class, what's going on, just to gauge what's going on and just have more of a conversation. And then that way we could figure out, okay, how do we structure this? So, you know, our focus is in attendance, you being there all 10 weeks, but rather providing you a space that you feel comfortable when you want to go do some gardening. We had a gardening class this past semester and some kids wanted to be outdoors and see what was going on. We did a MacGyver class and some kids, you know, would stay on camera, but then it wouldn't be the whole hour. You'd go back and on your own time, do things in your space to solve a solution or a problem that was going on and then come back and talk about it. So it's being creative with it. It's listening to the kids and the families and adapting as needed. And I think that is what's made it most successful in thinking about these opportunities that our kids do want. They are fatigued with Zoom, but they're also saying that they don't know how it's going to be when they no longer have school. So they might want options at least. And that's what I was gauging from kids. They want options, not something mandatory to do for 9 weeks on a Zoom call. And that's what we're trying to adapt and do with our kids.
Let me ask you this question, everyone, since we're on TV right now, what is it that we can do to reach out to people who are watching the show, who want to help, who care, they care about the youth, they care about the community, they're listening to your programs and thinking, this is awesome, how can we help? So Nelly, why don't you just share what your thoughts might be?
Yes, definitely. So something that, you know, would be really great is for those listening that might be business owners or also work with different organizations, we have a number of our youth that are open to intern in different spaces, are looking to connect. And so if there's any positions opening or internships for high school, early college students, we definitely have kids that are looking for jobs that are amazing, have amazing backgrounds and experience, and are just looking for opportunities this summer, given the impact of COVID and not being able to do the same exact thing. So that's one of our biggest asks. If anyone is out there listening and has opportunities for our young ones, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Nelly.
Mhm.
Steph?
Yeah, sure. You know, right now any fundraising or any donations that come to Beyond Soccer are being dedicated or earmarked toward youth jobs. You know, like I said, we're committed to not making any cuts, and we're committed to still running quality programs, although it looks differently. So those youth jobs and those kids on the other end, if you could meet them all, you'd want to help us. And we're also on our website, there are wish lists that you can kind of scroll down, because I know sometimes people want to give something that they can see, feel, and touch, and on there's soccer balls and volleyballs and you name it, to kind of incentivize a bit, because hey, look at who doesn't want to get a prize for participating in 5 different programs during a week. So we're trying to do that. We're trying to build that list. And again, I did mention volleyball. Yes, we have become beyond volley too, which we're really excited about. A group of 65 girls are now part of our program. So that was something we were able to do during this tough time out. It was one of the positives that came out of this, gave us a little time to assess, and we're going for it. So we're expanding during this time, believe it or not. So thanks.
Stephanie, you are amazing. Will?
So as I mentioned earlier, now in UTAC, we really want to expand our service in Lawrence. So we're looking for, collaborate with other nonprofits, but also if you own a business, like a local business, we have a lot of young adults there from Lawrence that love the city. They was born and raised here, but they're struggling to find a job just because they have it in the record, because they made a mistake in the past. So if you're interested, reach out to us. We have amazing young adults that want to give it back to their own community. So if you're looking for someone who can come and work or internship, like Nelly, Alba mentioned, and we also have the same program that we can provide some support for young adults to support your own business, especially during this time that's, a lot of the local business has struggling. And also if you're an individual who wants to, support a mission, you can go to our website, utacinc.org, make a donation to our service. All the money goes to young adults programming, and also support our social enterprises. Beyond Match Recycle, we also have a food service and woodworking social enterprises. You can go in, purchase cutting boards made by young adults. If you need some food, some catering for your event, we would love to serve with our young adults, making the food and delivering that for your event as well. Mm-hmm. And just be engaged. We are, as I mentioned, and we also are going to be looking to hire new street workers, transition coaches from the city of Lawrence to work with the young adults. So if you are passionate about this field, go to our website. There's a list of openings for positions. We would love to have, hire, folks from the city that knows the young adults more than, and that can really help us, the young adults, to transition to a better place.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that we're going to get some good, very qualified folks to be involved with this. So also just let me put a plug in for Community InRoads. We're an organization that works to support nonprofits like Beyond Soccer, like YDO, like UTEC, if they need some kind of white collar professional assistance. So if you are out there and you want to be helpful as far as utilizing your professional talents, give us a ring. At the present moment, we'll have coffee over Zoom, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how that would work. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. I know we have 3 busy people who I've kept a little bit longer than I said I would. So have a wonderful day. Keep doing the incredible things that you're doing, and I'll see you on the road.